Senator David Osmek is a freshman legislator with more than a decade in local government experience. He sat down with us to give us the inside perspective on what he hopes to achieve in his new role as a senator. I want to begin with something that I saw on your campaign website. There was an endorsement that essentially used the phrase, "Leadership is a byproduct of experience." So discuss your experience in business and on the Mound City Council and how you hope to build on those experiences here in the Senate.
Sure. Leadership comes with that time working with people, working with your colleagues, working across the aisle, working with people that you don't necessarily agree with all the time. And it takes that type of leadership to really be able to understand what happens here in St. Paul. Because a lot of times people will say, well, Republicans and Democrats, you guys don't agree upon anything. Truth of the matter is, we agree probably about 70 or 80% of the time. Matter of fact, I'm actually working on a couple of different things with Senator Dibble. One of them he helped me on was a transportation issue regarding using the shoulders on 494. Also, he's very interested in some of the privacy aspects of the license plate recognition software that is out there, and I'm very interested in that too. So that type of experience, having that 11 years on a city council, really leads into being able and ready and prepared to take the next step, which is here in the Senate.
Your website also stated, quote, "The only way to tame the beast is to stop feeding it. I've done it and it works." So where are the areas that you consider the beast here at the state?
I wouldn't be exclusive. I think all areas have plenty of areas where are space for us to be able to contract. In my city, and that's where I make the basis point on, and it probably is, it's in the small little leagues as opposed to the big leagues here in St. Paul, is that we found that once we said, okay, we're going to either keep the budget the same or reduce the budget, suddenly our administrative staff and the people that work for us at the City of Mound actually started to look at things in different ways. Primary example, they changed their snow plowing routes 5 different times within a winter and found the most efficient route to save the most amount of time, least amount of gas. Those type of things don't happen unless you impose it upon them and say, we have to make a change. We can't keep doing the same things that we did before. Same thing goes here in St. Paul. We have to find different ways to go about things. And I've only been here for 3 weeks, so it's hard for me to say, point to one thing and say, we can change this. But it's that attitude that you need to bring into the staff and bring all the way through the administration that we can do more with less. And we just have to have people that really want to do that.
Other areas of concern for you are K-12 funding, protecting vulnerable adults, and reforming LGA. And these concerns aren't necessarily partisan. So do any of the reforms that have been proposed thus far fall in line with your beliefs?
I haven't looked into great detail into what the governor has proposed, but I think there's some common ground that we can do in local government aid. My city has actually had its local government aid stripped many, many years ago, and I actually went in at one point in time to then Speaker of the House, Representative Steve Svigum's office. I pointed him straight into his face. I said, "You cut my LGA. And you did the right thing, because we didn't necessarily need it. It turned almost into a drug that we were addicted to, and every year we were holding our breaths, waiting to see what was going to happen." Now, we can all agree some cities need help. There are some counties that need help. If they don't have that kind of assistance, they may not be able to survive or even provide basic services. Those are the cities that really need to have it. We need to have it focused, though, on the cities and counties that need it, not necessarily on cities and counties that have a broad commercial, residential, and industrial base that can be able to support the property or taxes of that city to support that operation.
You talked earlier about work you're doing with Senator Dibble, so on a bipartisan basis. So essentially, what kind of an impact do you think you can make as a member of the minority party now that session is here?
Well, it takes coming in with a good attitude, because we are in the minority, and I am number 27 out of 28. So my office is in the basement, not next to the furnace, but I'm the guy next to the furnace. So, you have to come in with the attitude that you can make it change, and we have to find common ground. And there are going to be times where we don't agree, and that's probably going to be about budget time, and we start looking at tax increases and things like that. But there are things that we all agree upon. Safety in schools. We certainly need to increase our ability to keep guns out of the hands of people that shouldn't have them. For mentally ill people, they shouldn't have them. If you are a felon, and if you were a felon as a juvenile, you shouldn't be getting access to guns. Those we can all agree upon, and we should have a 21st century computer system through the BCA that can actually identify people and make sure that we keep those guns out of their hands. Those are the kinds of things we can all agree upon as citizens of Minnesota and as Republicans and Democrats.
Let's move away from policy issues and just give me what your overall impression of the Minnesota Senate is thus far.
It is everything that I believed and more. The first session we had when we were sworn in, Senator Bach actually mentioned the fact that there were approximately 1,300 or 1,400 people that actually had served through the entire history of that chamber. And it was really interesting. It took me back on my seat, going, I can't believe that I am here. That a kid from western Minnesota lived in Minnesota all my life, lived on a farm baling hay and working for, I was loaned out to neighbors for all kinds of purposes, and working on a farm, and then be able to come and serve in this body. It was very humbling.
Any big surprises yet?
Sometimes I think, again, it goes back to that bipartisanship. Sometimes you come in here believing that the other side has horns and a tail, and they think that you have the same. And I think in talking with some of them, you start to break down those barriers, and then we can find more of that common ground. And I think they're learning about me, and I'm learning about them. And as we move forward, I think we're going to find out again that we want to do the best, and we won't always agree upon things, but we'll always be respectful, and we'll find common ground when we can.